So, I went to go see Kick-Ass 2. Now, I liked the first movie, and thankfully most of the cast come back for this one, even though in a couple spots it's really only as a cameo. There is a different writer and director, though. It's the same guy, Jeff Wadlow. If you know him from anything, it's most likely going to be from Cry Wolf or Never Back Down, where he was the director. And yeah, I gotta say, this movie earns its R rating. Boy howdy, yeah. There's nudity, it's incredibly violent, incredibly crass, and there's a weapon that not only causes you to vomit uncontrollably, it gives you an immediate severe case of diarrhea. So, yeah. Be that as it may, it could still be a good movie, or, you know, at least fun, right? Well, maybe, maybe not. It's really going to depend on the viewer for this one, because the film's kind of a mess. Just the sort of mess that it's going to depend on someone's tolerances for this sort of thing as to whether or not they're going to enjoy it. The big problem is that it tries to fit way too much plot in way too little screen time. It ends up having to tell two separate stories that don't really meet up at all, except for kind of at the beginning and at the end. And otherwise they're just sort of linked thematically. And unless the film has a really long runtime, that sort of thing isn't going to work. So on the one hand, you have the whole story with Kick-Ass and how Red Mist from the first movie, the motherfucker here, has sworn vengeance on him. And that's the story that doesn't work. It just really doesn't. And it's no fault of the actors. As a matter of fact, the whole bits with Red Mist, those work. We see his descent into just pure evil, and we see that, his development of this supervillain team, and it works, it's nice. Kick-Ass parts, on the other hand, all the important character development points, those are just narrated over. We don't really see his interactions with his family. We don't see what his family life is like. We don't see what his romantic life is like. It's just, we're told it. And so when things happen later in the movie where it's supposed to have an emotional impact, we're supposed to care, we're supposed to have this connection with the character, it's just not there. And so it's just this empty, yeah, so, I mean, the actors do a good job, he's crying and distraught, and that works, and it just, you don't have the emotional punch that those scenes should have if things have been developed well. Instead of the development there, we're given Hit Girl's story. That was the plot that worked, that was the plot that was fun, it was memorable, it was well developed. Of course, it was also the plot that was a little bit less complex, so it could really be developed to the extent that it needed to for the runtime. It was effectively Mean Girls meets Carrey. You know, Hit Girl has basically made a promise to not be Hit Girl anymore, and so she goes to try and do a normal life in high school, which means she falls in with a cool crowd, pisses off the cool crowd, and then ends up getting even with the cool crowd after they do horribly nasty things to her. It's a nice, simple, fun story that's developed enough. I mean, to be fair, a lot more can be done with it. I mean, there's whole movies where that's just the entire plot. But for the B plot, it worked nicely, but it was just completely separate from the main storyline, which is really the problem. Any time that was going on, we weren't developing anything that was really important to the main core plot of the movie. And so that main core plot just sort of fell apart. So, poorly paced and plotted film aside, it did get some things right. For one, the humor. I found this movie to be a lot of fun, very entertaining. Notable exception being the weapon that caused someone to become visibly ill with a severe case of diarrhea. Poorly CGI'd diarrhea, so that's not my favorite type of humor, to be honest. And then the fight scenes, the ones that you could follow, the ones that weren't overly shaky cammed, those were really well done, very fun. And then the actors did a great job almost across the board. In particular, Jim Carrey was great fun as Colonel Stars and Stripes, and Chloë Grace Moretz as Hit Girl stole like every scene that she was in, just like she did in the first movie, which might possibly be why they segregated her from the rest of the film for almost the entire runtime here. Now, Kick-Ass 2 shares a lot of the same elements that made the first movie so much fun, which was enough for me to be entertained, but I expect it's not nearly enough for a lot of folks out there, especially since the overall presentation is just so uneven. So unless you're a fan of the first movie, I'd say stay away from this film, at least until it comes out on DVD. And even if you're a fan, I'd suggest more seeing it as a matinee than as the full price, because it's not as good. That's all I can say about it. Although I expect there's going to be a lot of folks who are going to disagree with me. So whatever you think, please let me know, as always. And until next time, folks, enjoy film.